tell you. I went up there over by the school, right in the front, on the side of the school there, over by the bus stop. And I was changing modes, I was changing frequencies, I was changing the iron bias, trying to get it dialed in. And I got so frustrated, I started cussing, right? It just doesn't work in the trash, man. That amount of trash with this coil here, you just can't pinpoint. You know, I've always struggled with the Equinox. That's why I don't really see me using the Equinox too much in trash anymore, or in any videos. Basically, very few videos I have out with the Equinox in trashy soil, because I just struggle and struggle and struggle and struggle, and the videos don't turn out because I start cussing, and I don't want a bunch of cussing and me being frustrating on a lot of videos, but there's just a reality to it, right? There's certain detectors that work really good in the trash, and those detectors usually are not deep-seeking machines, right? With that spot in front of the school, I'm going to use my Deus, right? Because I have a much better chance at getting something good out of the ground, because I can pinpoint all that trash and get it out of the ground, clear all that trash out fast. And then maybe bring the Equinox in, right? Get all that trash out there that I was struggling on pinpointing. You know, there's nothing like the Deus, right? There's nothing like the Equinox. There's nothing like the Simplex. You know, they set themselves apart. And I just came over here in Park 1, the settings that I usually have on here, you know, 17 gain. I'll change it back to my normal setting here, FE3, and then I'll go over to my recovery speed to 6, because I was pushing all kinds of buttons trying to get it dialed in there, right? Then I went back to my normal settings, you know, pushed the user preset button and went back to my normal settings. It was still, I just couldn't dial it in, right? And that happens to be a lot with the Equinox, man, a lot. I just get so frustrated because it just doesn't do a lot of sites that I like hunting in, right? A lot of trashy areas or the iron. And so I'll just go back to my normal settings here, and my recovery speed in 5-tone here. It's doing good right here, right? Because it's not nearly as trashy, right? Some foil right there, right? Some foil right there. Right, I don't know if you guys swing an Equinox or not, but there's just a lot of places where the Equinox just does not do well. And a majority of the time that I use the Equinox, it's not going to perform. I'm gonna have to push a bunch of buttons, and I'm gonna get frustrated, then I'm gonna have to go back to my normal preset settings, then I get frustrated again because it's not performing like it should be. It's just the soil, right? It's just a certain amount of trash in the soil, right? The Equinox just does not like. And it doesn't like my soil too, but I've gotten used to digging in my soil with the Equinox. I think the larger coil does much better. This small coil here, I didn't really struggle too much with this coil at first, because I was learning the machine and I was really patient with it. But once I started swinging that Deus around, I realized how frustrating it is with the Equinox, with this small coil, the pinpoint trash. You know, the Deus compared to the Equinox, they're, I mean, universes apart, right? On pinpointing targets. But when it comes to depth, this coil right here is much deeper than the Deus. But I'm not trying, in most of the spots that I go to, I'm not trying to go super deep, right? I want to get the surface trash out, and I want to get the jewelry out, because the most jewelry is near the surface. The Equinox is superior at getting those lower conductive targets out, those deeper, lower conductive targets out, you know, above most detectors, right? But in that trash back there, I was struggling big time, man. just going boo 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 boo. I don't know if it's I don't know where it's at, right? This could be a bottle cap. It could be a bottle cap, because I don't have my iron on, right? If I had my iron on, I would struggle even more. It might be some cancel off. Or it could be a gold ring too, yeah. Bring it home. It's a pencil eraser, flattened. You know, the Equinox does really good if there's a lot of foil on the ground here, right? I have my gain I actually have my gain really at normal, right, 18. I dropped it down to 12 and I lifted my gain up high over there. I did everything. I tried and tried and tried to dial it in. But the Equinox does really good on the lower conductors if they're really shallow, right? If you have any like iron in the ground below those lower conductors, it's gonna false. I'm just gonna go boo 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 boo, and you're not gonna go know where those lower conductors are because it falses on that deep iron, right? It throws your tones off big time because it wants to give you all those tones. Okay, let me explain this here, right? What the Equinox is doing is it's wanting to give you a whole bunch of different tones wrapped up into one. This is my kind of theory on it, right? Why I struggle so much with the Equinox. It wants to, let's say if you have a higher conductor right here and a lower conductor right here, right? Just a few inches apart. It wants to give you all those tones in between those two, right? So it's going boom 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 boom. With the Deus, it goes boop 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 boop. It goes boop 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 boop. Just like that. With the Equinox, it's not pinpointing those two targets. It's not separating those two different conductive metals separately, right? So it's wanting to go boop 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 boop. So it's just really confusing. And if those two conductive targets there are in a similar range, like if you're in 5-tone, if like I say if it's a piece of foil and a pull tab, it's still going to do that same thing, right? Those are two different tones. A pull tab is a different tone than the foil, but it still wants to go in between those tones. It wants to give you different. It's really jumpy tones, right? And with the Deus, it does not do that. It gives you solid pinpoints on each one of those targets. You know, the recovery speed on the Deus is extremely fast. And I can bump this Equinox up all the way to 8, and it still does that same thing. It's going to want to go, you know, it's going to give you all different kinds of tones there. If I'm in 50 tones, it makes it even worse, right? I did start out in 50 tones when I first started using this machine, and in iron, in some places, the 50 tones really does work better. But in high trash, the 50 tones, you get a lot of jumpy tones. You have to swing really, really, really tight and slow, right? But I'm gonna try to get some targets out of here. You know, it's not so trashy, not such a trashy spot here. I'll try to get some more trash out here, right? Try to find some coins here. Hopefully I'll find a coin today. That's a killer target, deeper one. Ah, no, it's not deep. It might be big. Might be some deeper cancel. I'm not really sure. It's deep, right? I just looked at the screen there and it gave me 1 bar. So if you're looking at your depth meter, you're gonna struggle. You know, you're gonna struggle looking at your machine. If you go by tones, man, it's probably a big piece of can slaw, right? Or a large piece of foil. It could be a gold ring too, man. I'm hoping for a gold ring. That would be freaking super awesome. My pinpointer's falsing on the soil really bad. Come on, baby. It's a big piece of foil, right? Equinox packet, foil packet, right? That gave me 1 bar, so I kind of knew that it was a little bit bigger just by the tone of it. But the Equinox is pretty tough to learn the size of your targets, right? I mean, I love the Equinox, do not get me wrong with this video, but with pinpointing targets and getting them out as fast as you can, because the more of this junk that you get out of the ground, the more of a chance that you're going to find one of those pieces of junk is going to be a gold ring. Right up along here. This is where hundreds of school kids walk by every single day. Right in this sidewalk right here, right? Hundreds of kids. And there's gold rings over here. I've found, I think, probably 3 or 4 rings here. I don't know if I don't think I've found any gold rings. I think I found a gold ring on the other side of the fence down at the end there about 5 years ago. But there's usually a lot of coins in through here. But, you know, since I'm spending so much time on this trashy stuff here, you know, I'm digging out the low tones, I probably won't find any coins here. There's a good target right here. Right there. Solid 14. Yeah, baby. Bring it on. Come on, baby. Oh, it's hard here. Very hard ground. Rocky. It's a pencil razor. Right there. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go get my desk. Right. I left my days at home. I wanted to try the Equinox just for a little while here, you know. I know it gets old, me trashing the Nox, but oh, man, I just struggle. It's so many sites that my other detectors work just fine at. The Equinox just kicks my ass. I mean, bad, man. I just can't figure the Equinox out, man. You know, I've taken my Deus to every site that I've ever hunted on with all my machines, and I've only had a problem on 1 site, and that's when the Equinox kicked its ass. With this small coil here, compared to the 9-inch HF coil at the university about a month ago, that's when the Equinox came through and got me a lot of stuff. A lot of jewelry, a lot of coins, and the Deus was struggling there just for some fluke reason, right? But I was only there for 1 day in that spot. And, you know, if you come back other days and, you know, learn how to, you know, dial in your detector at that certain spot, you know, you'll be able to get more out. But if you only have 1 machine, you know, and you struggle in a certain spot, you could just come back later on and see if your machine will work. Maybe if you're getting some EMI and the EMI could go away at certain times of the day. You know, at a lot of places that I go to, you know, there's EMI at just certain times of the day. And I know when to go back because the EMI is not bad. But with the Equinox, I mean, I brought this Equinox to so many different sites, and I just hunt for about an hour, and I just get super frustrated. And I do a lot of cussing, you know. That's why you really don't see me have a lot of Equinox videos, because I do a lot of cussing, man. I don't like cussing, but this Equinox really drives me freaking nuts sometimes, man. A majority of the time that I've used the Equinox, I get tired of it and just put it in my truck and use a different detector. You know, any other detector will work better than the Equinox in some sites. You know, I may lose a lot of subscribers, you know. I mean, if I were to lose half of my subscribers, you know, that's fine with me. You know, the people who want to watch my videos will keep on watching my videos, but you know, there are certain machines that struggle, and if you're a fanboy of like the Simplex, or you're a fanboy of the Equinox 800, or you're a fanboy of the Deus, every detector has its spots where it sucks at, right? Where it's not going to perform, right? I can tell you a lot of stuff on the Deus, man. I'm a big fan of the Deus, but I'm not a fanboy of the Deus. I'm not a fanboy of the Equinox. I'm not a fanboy of any freaking detector, right? Every detector has its spots where it's going to struggle at, and where it's going to be thriving at. And you know, the Deus has a lot of battery issues. You know, the Deus is not very good at nickels. The Deus is not waterproof. The Deus, you know, the full tones drags the the tones down on those higher conductors, so it sounds kind of irony or kind of grunty. You know, with the Equinox, you know, those coins are pretty evident, but so are those freaking nails, right? On those deeper targets, man. You know, the Equinox does have a lot going for it. You know, a lot of guys like the Equinox because it goes deep, but it doesn't work good in trash, you know, or in a lot of heavy iron sight, you know. I have other machines that just do way better than the Equinox, you know, and I even show you that. I've had comparison tests on the Equinox and to my other machines here, right? Live digs and in the test garden. Test gardens don't have a lot to do with real world out in the field hunting, but you know, every machine has its faults, right? But I want to know those faults in those machines, right? That's why I show you the faults in the machines. So if you get in a certain situation, in the same situation, you'll know what to do, right? But with the Equinox, I just haven't figured the Equinox out right. I have a lot of hours, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, almost 1,000 hours on the Equinox now, and I just haven't been able to master it, you know. I don't think I'll ever master it, and even the Deus too, I'll probably never master the Deus. I'm pretty efficient with the Deus now, but you know, those raunchy tones, deeper tones, are hard to figure out with the Deus. With the Equinox, not so much. The Equinox is pretty stable on those deep, higher conductive targets and the lower conductive targets. But once you start getting into trashy areas, it all changes, right? Every machine responds differently to different sites and different conditions. But the Deus, you know, I think it's one of the better machines out there for in the trash, getting the surface trash out. It's not a deep machine, you know. You don't see me digging out freaking 10-inch deep coins with the Deus. I don't think it's able to do that, right? I've tested it a lot in my test gardens, and I've tested a lot out in the fields. It's not a deep seeking machine. You know, that's not what I'm using the Deus for. You know, I've got a lot of silver last year with the Simplex because it's a deep seeking machine. But you saw me struggling in the EMI, or in the curb strips, or in the harsh soil, or around a lot of trash. You know, Simplex struggles in the trash a little bit, or in the iron. But, well, I'm gonna try to get best out of this day. You know, try to use the Equinox. Well, thank you for watching. Please subscribe.